Okay, let's get into the stock market technical analysis. We've got NVDA earnings coming out after the bell. So that's obviously a major market moving earnings report. So we're going to get into that. If you guys are finding value, please drop me a thumbs up. And if you're interested in the private member group where I'm posting additional trade ideas, additional charts, additional market concepts, private member group, link in the description below. Check it out if you're interested. Okay, triple Qs. We've got the bigger thing, the biggest picture is obviously we have a new high. I've talked about this. There's the high over the former high. Momentum is dropping. We have negative divergence indicating a trend reversal is likely, but not necessarily, happening right now. But we do have a topping pattern, which is this island cluster top here. So until proven otherwise, that's the top. All right, the high of that island cluster is the top. Now, if NVIDIA comes out bullish and the market loves what they have to say, then yeah, you're going to probably see triple Qs kind of rip to the upside and continue to break above the high, and that's not going to be the top. However, the technicals as of right now tell me with the island cluster, with the negative divergence, that we have likely put in a top, and in fact, NVIDIA is going to be basically come out negative after earnings. Okay, they're going to sell that thing down. Now, I would expect, and I'll cover NVIDIA here in a second, but if NVIDIA does in fact come out negative, then you're going to see triple Qs start to break down this bearish rising wedge pattern right here. You can see it. I've got it marked in blue. That's the bearish rising wedge. We did briefly pop above it, looked like a stop rate, and sure enough, we're back down within the wedge. So, and we're going to see the triple Q start to break down. And the major target for the breakdown is the widest part of the wedge, which is either here. You could say it's maybe right down here at the very beginning of the wedge. That's possible. But anyways, you take it at the point of the breakdown, which ultimately would be today. And that sets us up for a move down to the major target on that one is right there. All right. It's that support level. It's that former reaction low. It's about 448.12. Okay. So that's the way I'm leaning. All right. I think we're going to break down after NVIDIA earnings and start to work our way down to that major target. That would be a drop on the triple Qs of about 10%, 11%, something like that. All right. So that's my outlook on triple Qs. We don't have any near-term sell signals, but this island cluster top is a sell signal in itself. When you see island clusters, you can short those as if they are the top, and then you just cover your short if you're proven wrong. And you're proven wrong when you start getting daily closes above the high, all right, which is about 515.55. You start getting daily closes above there, and you're proven wrong. But until then, you just take the trade for what it's worth and let it do its thing. So, all right, so that's what I got on triple Qs. NVIDIA, all right, here's NVIDIA. Very similar kind of look. You've got big negative divergence. It's been building for quite a while, all right, really quite a while. But in general, negative divergence on the momentum. We have divergent high and a divergent high. So these is kind of a series of divergent highs. So that is telling us we're likely going to get a trend reversal soon. However, this one doesn't really have like an island cluster top. There's no real island cluster. There's no real bearish engulfing. There's really no indication that the uptrend that NVIDIA has been in has reversed. So at the end of the day, there's really no sell signals in NVIDIA. We have a trend line to watch. It's right here. Coming off of the October 2022 lows, support, a couple reactions there. There's one. A break of that trend line would be the sell signal. I think it's, honestly, it's really hard to say how earnings are going to go. But because the charts are set up with negative divergence building for a while, because we have topping patterns in the triple Qs and in the SPY, then, I think what's going to happen, and again, this is just a guess, but I think we're going to gap down after earnings below this trend line. I think we're going to break this trend and gap down. And from where we're at right now, maybe a 13 to 15% gap, something like that, somewhere down right around here. You'll likely see the dip buyers initially step in and maybe buy just for a little brief pop on the opening tomorrow. If we gap down here, I think you probably see some dip buyers try to step in and then the sellers step back in and smash this thing down. Okay, so that's what I'm guessing on NVIDIA. Again, it's just, you know, it's a long shot when you're guessing ahead of earnings because it is just a guess and there is no technical sell signals. So you know, one way to do it is to wait for the break of the trend. However, because this thing's pretty extended with the big negative divergence, I think it's going to gap down relatively, pretty good sized gap down, which is hard to step in on a short on a big gap down. Okay, so that is NVIDIA. Okay, SPY, I just want to cover this. Okay, the SPY, again, bearish rising wedge here. The very well-defined wedge. Breakdown, back test, and rolling over. Now, we could back test again. You know, if NVIDIA's, you know, strong, they could back test again. That's possible. Sometimes you back test multiple times. But, again, we continue to diverge. All right, momentum is continuing to drop off. All right, so each new high is less and less momentum. So I think if you do get another back test, it's going to get sold right into. All right, I suspect if we get a back test up here, they're going to sell that thing pretty hard. However, I'm not leaning that way. I'm actually leaning towards, we had the back test, we had the sell signal on the breakdown, we had the back test. Two objective areas to short would be on this break and on the back test here. Both areas are objective to short. And then I think we're going to, you know, start to roll over, start to break supports and head lower. Widest part of the wedge, I know my chart's getting messy. Widest part of this wedge sets the S&P 500 up for a move down to about 538.50. That is, and there's the 200-day down there, so that's where the bulls will likely try to battle it out. And that would be a drop of about 8.5%. So I'm seeing about a 10.5% drop in triple Qs and about an 8.5% drop in the SPY. Those are my, you know, that's my best guess in terms of where what the chart's telling me, where the general broad market's going to go after NVIDIA earnings. So a couple trade ideas just to play off of that and I'll wrap up. KGC, which is a gold miner, bearish. It was kind of a holdout. It didn't break down. GDX and Newmont were breaking down. This one was holding out. But it's broke now, and you have this bearish rising wedge. You have negative divergence. You've got the sell signal there on the initial break. And so you take the widest part of the wedge, which is really about here. And I've got it measured out. And it has us dropping down to about 731, roughly, right in there. I mean, when you get close to a level, you know, consider it hit. But in general, right there. So that, from where we're at now, is a drop, is a continued drop of about, let me get that tool, of about 20% or so. All right, so there's that one. GE, all right, again, all these patterns are basically the same. We're just kind of waiting for NVIDIA, but GE, big long uptrend, all right, on the daily chart. Started to put in a bearish rising wedge there. Negative divergence building. Break of trend here, back test. It's the same pattern. I mean, these literally all, this is the same as the S&P 500. But, so measured target for that one, widest part of the wedge, which is about here. And you take that at the point of the breakdown, and that sets us up for a push down to about 137.35, maybe a little lower. You know, somewhere right in there. So from where we're at now, that is a drop of about 23%. So there's that one. FITB, again, very good chart. Not really triggered. There's no sell signal yet. It hasn't triggered, but negative divergence, bearish, big bearish rising wedge. Widest part of the wedge, it's a pretty good sized wedge. Take that at the point of the breakdown, which I don't know when or where that is because we haven't broke down yet. Maybe you could consider the breakdown here. You know, we did break the wedge there, so we'll just go with that. It did recover the wedge, but it did break, and that sets us up for a push down to about 32. Nice good reaction lows right there. That's support. So 32, and again, from where we're at right now, that's a 31% drop. So I like that one, although it's not triggered yet because I haven't fully broken the wedge. Likely, if we're going to break the wedge, it's going to happen on after NVIDIA. If we gap down tomorrow, we've got an island cluster top, all right? Because there's a gap up, and if we gap down tomorrow and break the wedge, you've got a top, all right, in that island cluster top. So then you just set your stop, you know, basically up here at the highs and let it ride down to the measured target. So that's how you trade that one. And this one I already pointed out to the private member group early this morning, but this is a MasterCard. Again, we have a trend line to watch. All right, we've got 1 reaction, 2, and 3. So the blue line is that's your bull trend. It looks like we're gonna start a pullback down to that trend line. We do have big negative divergence, so it's been building for quite a while. And we also have a smaller divergence right in here. So plenty of negative divergences. So this is all divergent high price action. We have a bearish rising wedge also in this latest move here. Okay, so that bearish rising wedge gives you a measured target. You take the widest part of the wedge, which, you know, it's basically right there at the point of the breakdown, which is here. And that sets us up for what looks to me like a push down or close to that trend line. All right, so that's the measured target on that one. And you can see on MasterCard, we had a break of the wedge here, big bearish engulfing outside day there on earnings, and then they back tested. So breakdown, back test, and continuing to roll over. Okay, so I'm looking for lower prices here in MasterCard. If you go to the hourly chart on this one also, you can see we've been kind of holding this little support shelf, and today it broke. So whether they want to run up and back test it, support's broken, which is now resistance. It's about 516.50. So I'm looking for lower prices and sell the rip on that one. And again, down to that trend line back here on the daily, from where we're at now, maybe about a 6-7% drop. That's kind of in line with the S&P 500 drop. If you're looking for a long trade, it's relatively objective to buy this one. MOS, again, bullish falling wedge, big bullish falling wedge. Bullish divergence, been building for a while. We're back at support, all right? So it's objective to buy at support, which is the bottom of the wedge there. All right, so we're close. It could go a little lower, but we're basically right down there. That's support, so it's objective to go long there or breaks of resistance, all right, when it breaks that trend line. So either one, objective to go long with a stop somewhere below. And the measured target for this one is the widest part of the wedge, which to me, depending on when we break out, of course, but, you know, sends us up to, you know, at least a minimum 42, maybe a little higher. It just depends on when we actually break out. But, you know, I'm seeing it at a minimum about this. It's about 41.77, 42 area as a key level of resistance. So that would be a gain from where we're at now of about 64%. Okay. Now we haven't broken out and we don't have a buy signal. We are at support, so it's objective to go long, but this thing can continue. And again, it was objective to go long here. All right, if you went long here, boom, you've been getting paid every time you go long there. You're just not getting that longer term trend trade way up to, you know, higher resistance. In order for that to happen, you need to break out of this wedge to the upside. Okay, that's all I've got. I'm going to get the video out before NVDA comes out, and best of luck.